Blowing into your sax should be simple and smooth. If it's not, then something is wrong. Today, we're going to troubleshoot your blowing struggles. Let's get started. So, welcome back. Today, I want to go over with you a few different variables that affects your sound and how you blow into your horn. Now, the first thing you want to look at is your mouthpiece. So let me take my mouthpiece out here. So here we go. I play on an auto-link tone edge. Look at the mouthpiece, right? You want to look at the size of the mouthpiece. Beginners should be playing on a size 4 or a size 5 on the mouthpiece. So if you are above that, you may want to consider backing it down to a 4 or a 5. Mine is a 7. So can you see this? Can you see that? 7, yeah. So mine is a 7, and I also have an auto-link tone edge 8. And these are fairly large, so if you don't know the difference between a size 4 and a size 8, size 8 is going to play much bigger and much louder. It is harder to play into. It requires more air, but it gives you a bigger sound. But that is something that you're going to have to build up to. So it took me years to build up to a 7. I started on a 5, then I went to, and then in sequence, went to a 6. About 5 years in, I went to a 6, and then I went to a 7. About 2 years ago, I switched over to a 7. I was happy with the 6. I was getting a very big sound out of the 6. I switched over my reed to something called a synthetic reed, a ligature reed. It's a plastic reed, and that enabled me to get a bigger sound. But it's a plastic reed, and I since went back to a wood reed. I felt like I was getting a much better sound from my wooden reed. So again, the first thing you want to look at is your mouthpiece. So what size are you playing on? If you just started, you should be playing on a 4 or a 5. If you've been playing for about a year to 2 years, I'd consider going to a 6. All right. So after you look at your mouthpiece, then you want to look at your reeds. What type of reeds are you playing? What size reed are you playing? And just let me back up just a little bit. This is a ligature, right? This holds the reed onto the mouthpiece. This is a $100 ligature. It's called a BG Duo. Now your ligature is fine for what you're doing. Beginners, intermediates, even pros, they're fine. But this one has special rails on it. But if you see this, it does look different from yours, and that's why it looks different, because it is. Anyway, it's called a BG Duo, and it's about $123 ligature. Nothing you need to concern yourself with right now. But for me, it just works better. All right. So again, back to the reed. I play a 2.5, all right? Your reed, if you look at your reed, take your reed off and take a look at it. All right, there should be a brand on it. If there's no brand on it, I would be concerned. It might be a generic reed. It probably doesn't play that well. There is a difference, but surprisingly, I play a Rico. Rico Royal is the first reed I started playing on many, many years ago. The Rico Royal, which can be found in a blue box, they're not good. These Ricos in the orange box, they play very, very well for me. And I played on all different types of reeds. I played on reeds called Van Dorens, reeds called Java, which is also a branch off of Van Doren. I've played on reeds called French reeds called Alexanders. I've tried different reeds. But I came back to the Rico Orange, which seems to work the best for me. And what's interesting about reeds is that the batches, one batch can be good, but the next one could be perfect. So if your reed isn't playing, you may want to try a different box or you can ask, when you go to music stores, you can ask for individual samples, So, or the Ricos come in a 3-pack, so I'll buy a 3-pack at a time. And 90% of the time they play well, but there was a pack I bought a few years ago. All 3 reeds, the 3 reeds in the pack, they were no good, so I had to throw them out. So again, I didn't have to buy a full box. But look at your reed, look at the size, beginners. There's a strength here. You'll see the number. Mine is 2.5. Yours should say a 2. If you're beginning, then yours should be a 2. If it's not a 2, if you're struggling when you're playing right now and you're playing a 2.5, then you should back it down to a 2 and then see how it works. If you're playing a generic reed, like some saxophones, if you buy them from Amazon or whatever, they'll send you a pack of generic reeds. If you're having trouble with it, that's probably why. The reeds are no good. So you want to go out and look for a better brand, like a Rico or a Java or a Van Doren. And you want to try a couple, and really, there's no big secret in playing the saxophone and getting a good sound on the mouthpiece. There's no secret. What it is trial and error. Go to a music store and try different mouthpieces. Buy a couple different reeds and try them out. And once you find that combination, it's going to stick with you. You'll stick with it for a while, and it's going to be extremely helpful. 2.0 for beginners. 2.5 if you've been playing for about over a year or so. 2.5 is okay. Now, the smaller the mouthpiece, so on a 4 or a 5, the smaller the mouthpiece in combination with a smaller reed, a 2.0, it's going to, let me show you. So here's the tip opening, and here's the reed. Let me come on over here. So as you can see, my mouthpiece and reed have been used a lot recently. So this is the tip opening, all right? So a size 4 is going to be closer to the rails and closer to the tip. Size 4 is going to be, can you see that? A size 5 is going to be a little bit further away. A size 6 is going to be further. Size 7 is more open. If you see this, it's more open. That's a 7. So the smaller your mouthpiece and the more flexible the reed is, right? If you're playing a 2, you're going to be able to blow easier because the tip's going to be closer. It's going to require a little bit less air and less pressure. But the bigger the mouthpiece, right? The larger the tip opening, the harder it is going to be to blow into the mouthpiece. So starting out, you want the tip, you want to play on either a 4 or 5 and keep this tip opening smaller. Now a size 2 is going to be, again, this is just a flexibility, a size 2 is going to be softer, it's going to allow more flexibility. This is a 2.5, but I also have size 3 reeds. Size 3, it's not gonna be as pliable or flexible. And here, the difference in sound is this. If it's a smaller mouthpiece tip and a more flexible reed, you're gonna get a smaller sound. So your sound is gonna be restrained. The larger tip opening and the harder the reed, it's gonna require more air and more embouchure strength, the bigger the sound is going to be. So to get like a rock, edgy sound, you're gonna have to go to a bigger mouthpiece and a harder reed. Does that make sense? But right now, if you're struggling, it may be because your mouthpiece is too big or your reed is too hard in strength. So mouthpiece should be about a 4 or 5, okay? And your reed should be about a 2, no bigger than a 2.5. If you're playing a 2.5 and you're not having any struggles at all, stay there. Stay on your 2.5. There's nothing wrong with that if it's working. But if you're struggling, back it down. Back this down or back this down. So your objective, 4 or 5, or size 2 as a beginner. Unless you're getting a good sound out of 2.5. That's, no complaints on that. Okay. Let's look at the setup of the mouthpiece and the ligature, all right? So let me come on over here. This is so important. Well, first of all, you look at your reed. All right, look at that. It's warped. You see it's not, can you see that it's not straight? It's warped. Now, I'm gonna put this in my mouth in a few minutes because I'm about to practice. And I'll put this in my mouth for about a couple minutes and this will be fine. This is a fairly new reed. It's a couple weeks old, so I know the reed is okay. It's not that worn out. That's the other thing. If you've been playing on a reed a long time, you should change it. If you do play on the reed often, you should change it. I change my reed about every month, once a month, and I play a few hours a week. I should probably change it sooner than that, but again, that could be another reason why you're struggling. Your reed could be old. There are a lot of variables here, okay? But this is warped. That's okay, because I'm going to put it in my mouth in a minute, and it'll be fine. So let's go, put it on. This is how it should look, like a groomed thumbnail. Look at my thumbnail, nice and groomed, right? Just like this. You take the ligature, put the ligature on, and make sure the ligature is snugly on the mouthpiece. Snugly on the mouthpiece. All right, so this is going to allow the reed to vibrate better, because if it's too far up this way, it's going to restrain the vibrations. All right, so there you go. Nice and fit. I'm going to tighten this. You see it? Okay. There you go. It looks a little warped, but I'm going to bring it up just a hair. A nicely groomed thumbnail. Sound good? Awesome. There you go. All right, now the last piece. If you just started playing on your own and you're not really sure how to blow into it or how to hold it in your mouth, it's like this. Top teeth. Now I have something on here which I like a lot. It's a tooth guard. It protects my teeth from kind of grinding on the plastic, so you can get one of these. They're only maybe 50 cents a piece, and I love them because I don't like my teeth, my hard, cold teeth grinding on the plastic. So I put this tooth guard on, and it just gives it a little bit of a cushion, which I like a lot. Anyway, so your teeth go on like this. The bottom, you cover your bottom teeth, okay? Huh? Okay. You don't put it all the way in. And on the tip. Your teeth go right here, right there. So you can actually see my teeth markings right there. And then you squeeze together. Use your tongue against the tip. Articulation against the tip. So my tongue hits about right here, like this. And that is really important. So the mouthpiece position, you know how you set it up. Make sure your reed is nice like a thumbnail. Your ligature is on snugly towards the bottom to allow this to allow your reed to vibrate most effectively. And then when you put it in your mouth, like this. And your sound, if you're set up properly, and you have the correct size reed, and you have the correct brand reed, and you have the correct size mouthpiece, and the ligature's on snug, you shouldn't. Oh, and your mouthpiece is wet. It's important to make sure that you wet your mouthpiece. Your reed is wet. Okay, your reed needs to be wet. Your sound should come out nice and smoothly, nice and simply and smoothly. Now, beginners, this is new. It's going to be a little painful at first. If you're just getting started, you're going to start to apply pressure to the mouthpiece, and over a few minutes, you're going to start to feel a little pain. That's normal. You have to build up your embouchure muscles. But your sound should still come out nice and smooth. If this was helpful, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, just so I can continue releasing content just like this to help you out. If you have any questions, or if you are still having any issues, comment below. reach out to me. I'd be happy to help you to get you sounding the best that you can possibly sound on your sax. All right, I'm so glad that you're with me. I will see you on the next one.